Hello and welcome to today's podcast. My name is Aidan McCarthy and I'm head of regulatory training here at the network, and I'm going to be hosting today's podcast. Now, today's podcast is titling Opening the Door to Business Protection. So I'm delighted to introduce to you today Gregor Sked, Senior Intermediary Development and Technical Manager Protection at Royal London. That's some title. Welcome, Gregor. How are you today?
And I'm really good, thank you. It certainly is the world's longest job title, but that hopefully doesn't stop the important information coming out today.
So Gregor's kindly agreed to answer some questions and tell us about opening the door to business protection. Okay, so thanks, Gregor, first of all, for taking the time today. So firstly, what are the common challenges facing advisors when talking business protection with clients, and what can providers do to support them?
So this is a question I've had quite a lot over the last few months and probably even the last couple of years, because business protection is an area that has been around for many years, but it is still a very lucrative part of the industry. And I think there are some fairly common challenges coming out of the woodwork as to why it is still seen as quite a lucrative part of the industry, and potentially why there are certain pockets of advisors that still feel a little bit uncertain around business protection and actually how to move into that space. And I think some of the areas that I've come across recently involve things like the complex language, the jargon that business protection can sometimes come with. I think the cost of living crisis and also the rise in premium rates have certainly made business protection seem maybe an area of avoidance when it should absolutely not be the case. I think we really should be looking at business protection as an opportunity as a whole, and hopefully we'll be able to cover them through today's podcast. But as I said, some of the common challenges, and I think some of the areas that advisors do find that they may struggle with business protection is that technical area, that complex language, the jargon that the industry is very guilty for using. And also one of the areas that I've picked up over the last few months is that advisors are sometimes struggling just to figure out the first step. How do we introduce ourselves into this area? How do we find the opportunity to talk business protection? Are we maybe not speaking to a particular demographic that we should be, or are there areas that actually we maybe aren't speaking to at all? And how do we get in front of them? So I think those are some of the common challenges, the technical side, the jargon, but it's also just that big step into how do we actually start having these conversations for the first time.
Okay, thanks, Gregor. So complexity there, and so how do providers then? Because obviously advisors, it's a great opportunity for advisors. So how can providers support advisors to overcome those challenges that clients may have when it comes to business protection? So as you say, things like the complexity, or one of perhaps the things that a lot of advisors come about, that perceived lack of need. So how can providers support advisors in these areas?
Yeah, so the perceived lack of needs a common discussion in the personal protection space as well, isn't it? And I think that it translates perfectly into the business protection space. I think before we touch on the provider's side, I think just reiterating, I guess, the need for business protection and actually just helping sort of maybe overcome that first barrier. So I think essentially business protection is there to offer financial security for companies in the event that they're an owner, a shareholder, a key person is maybe affected by a serious illness, a premature death. And of course, if a business is relying on that individual to carry out day-to-day operations, maybe keep up repayments on certain loans, then their loss could have some significant disruptions for the company's sustainability. And I think it's one of the things that we see at Royal London is that many businesses do make sure that their assets are covered against the effects of fire and thefts. Many business owners wouldn't think twice about ensuring their premises, their company vehicles and property and whatnot. But they do often overlook some of the most important assets, and I guess their core asset being their people. And obviously the absence of that individual, who's maybe a partner, shareholder, key person, could be severely damaging for many businesses. I think coming back to your question about how providers can support advisors overcoming these challenges that we mentioned, and hopefully demonstrating that lack of need or that perceived lack of need. I think many providers in the industry, and Royal London are no different, offer some fantastic tools that can actually help to really illustrate the potential impact of these, let's call them unexpected life events. We've got our own risk report on our marketing studio, which it doesn't badge itself as a business protection risk report, but it still works incredibly well if we are wanting to try and show business owners the risks that they face. And it really does just highlight, particularly for business owners, the importance of protection. If you take that risk report as an example, that will show an individual the likelihood of passing away prematurely, i.e. claiming on a life policy, developing a serious illness, i.e. claiming on a critical illness policy, or being off work for an extended amount of time, i.e. claiming on an income protection policy. And while that shows an individual's perceived risks that they face, actually, if we do that, use that in a business context, remember, businesses may well have 2, 3, 4, 5 key individuals. So if we're showing the risks of something bad happening to those multiple individuals, then actually the risks are going to be substantially higher, aren't they? So I think making the most of some of these risk report tools and features that the industry has, it will definitely go a long way to overcoming that perceived lack of need. Using real life examples and case studies to actually show the relevance and the importance of business protection, I think can really make a big difference to the clients and their families. And again, at Roland, we've got some really powerful case studies that either our BDMs directly can share or have a little look on our advisor website just to see what those case studies looks like. I think the industry as well as a whole, and this goes across personal and business protection, I think trying to address any misconceptions or myths about business protection by using things like claims rates and actually helping clients understand the underwriting processes as well a little bit, because naturally business protection and underwriting process can be a little bit different. But again, just trying to overcome some of these areas, the industry is definitely getting better. But as I say, I think claims rates, talking about the underwriting process, I think is an area where providers certainly can be putting a little bit more emphasis and focus. But I think this is a key area. I think is looking at providers' websites, using some of the fantastic tools. And again, we'll hopefully talk about them very soon. But yeah, I think those are the first starting points to try and overcome some of those common challenges.
Brilliant. Yeah, there's a lot of support out there. And I think initially, as you touched on there, it's about going and seeing what's out there, understanding the complexity that it's not really that complex, but understanding what it does and how it can do it. And then thinking about that perceived lack of need that not just the clients will have, that some of the advisors have. So that's a lot of support that's on offer. So can I ask, Gregor, what are some of the opportunities and maybe some tips for advisors to grow their protection business and obviously then deliver value for their clients?
Yeah, big question there, and I think the opportunities are big as well. You know, I'm going to start off with an area that I know you'll be very keen with, Aidan, and everybody will be, about consumer duty. That certainly provides an initial starting point. You know, consumer duty, it really is putting focus on all matters of protection, and business owners are certainly different. Now the rules are in effect, advisors have that responsibility to act to deliver good customer outcomes for retail customers now and into the future. But of course, as we've said, given the current economic climates, it can be challenging. But consumer duty certainly should be that initial sort of push to help advisors see that this is an area worth looking into. I think other areas for opportunity. So stats that I looked at recently, I think we're at 5.58 million private businesses in the UK, and 99.9% of them fall into the SME category. So they've got fewer than 250 employees. Now that is the target audience for business protection. The fact that 99.9% of businesses in the UK fall into that category is an opportunity on its own. So kind of just jumping back to what I mentioned earlier about one of the common challenges I've heard from advisors over recent months is that they just don't necessarily know how to get that first step into the world of business protection. And it's a very, very fair challenge, very fair question. I would actually, and I tend to start this when we're looking at our business protection training sessions, is review your existing clients. Start at your front door before we even look at opening the door fully. Just start at your own front door. Have you spoken to clients recently that have maybe arranged a mortgage and they're arranging it via using dividend payments? Does that give an initial indication that they may be a key individual within a business? And again, that in itself can open up the opportunity. Actually reviewing existing clients might be able to help just identify particular gaps that they have, maybe where there's a new opportunity to revisit their protection needs. Have they started a business since you last spoke to them? Does their job title, does their employer give any indication that they are somebody that could be quite senior or key? Doesn't necessarily be somebody that's senior, but it could be an important individual within the business. I think, as I said earlier, using some of the marketing studio materials, i.e. the risk report, and hopefully some of the sales that you'll be able to find on there to try and approach clients, can certainly be a good tool to use. We've got, again, some fantastic tools on our advisor website that can help with that approaching business owners. So whether it's our business protection calculator that can help give advisors a detailed report on the business's needs and actually the type of covers that they might need to consider, which actually takes a lot of the legwork away from the advisors themselves. And I think using things like the fact, so keeping questions to think about quite quite structured. So I tend to share with advisors 4 questions to think about asking clients. Do you have clients that are maybe shareholders of SMEs? Question 1. Question 2, do they expect to sell their share in the business at some point in the future? Question 3, will the proceeds of that sale be used for particular lifetime planning? So they're going to be used to the sale in the business as a retirement option. And question 4, if that's the case, are their aspirations being insured? And again, that may well open up the door to a business protection conversation as well, because I think one of the areas that I tend to touch on a lot is businesses aren't just a source of income for customers now, but actually they're a pension option for many. It's a retirement plan for many. And of course, retirement plans without considering the risks or even the potential impact that a business's sustainability could have today or in the next few months or next few years could severely impact somebody's later life plans and their retirement plan. So again, we're not just about protecting the business's sustainability, business protection is about protecting people's potential retirement plans. So there's a lot of tools out there that I think can help drive the initial conversation. A lot of opportunities. As I've said, there's, like 99.9% of UK private businesses fall into the perfect category to talk about business protection, and this is, I think, starting at your front door is one of the best ways to go about it. I think the key to driving more interest in business protection really lies within an advisor's ability to get business owners to see just how severely their business could be impacted if somebody key into that business was no longer able to work or no longer around. So a lot of opportunity and, of course, a lot of support from providers to help with that.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, we've been talking a lot about the challenges and the opportunities in the business protection world, and you've touched on quite a lot of opportunities and support that's available. So tell me, Gregor, specifically then, tell me about Royal London's business protection proposition and how you can help advisors deliver value.
Sure. So our business protection proposition generally sits within what we call our business menu plan. So very similar to anybody that's familiar with their personal menu plans, just in the business context. So it's our business menu plan. And what that does is it gives advisors the opportunity to offer the main types of business protection policies for their business owning clients. That is key person cover, shareholder or partnership protection, and protection for business loans as well. We do also offer relevant life plans. I haven't really looked at relevant life plans today, and actually thinking back to the last question, relevant life plans might be very relevant because relevant life plans aren't business protection as such, and they should never be thought of as business protection, but relevant life plans can actually be a fantastic gateway to talking about business protection, because if we're talking about protecting an individual's ability to protect their family's lifestyle and debts, ability to repay debts on death, a relevant life plan can be a fantastic way to do that. And if we are setting up relevant life plans, actually, naturally, we're going to be able to be in the world of business owning clients. So actually, it can be a fantastic gateway. So we do also offer relevant life policies as well. So I think with the Royal London solution, the key thing that our business protection plan offers is flexibility. We offer a flexible solution for business protection needs, and this is we ran through some of the products there. The flexibility. What do I mean by flexibility? Well, really, when we look at flexibility, we want to be able to enable clients to either be able to increase or decrease their cover without further underwriting at certain life events. And again, that is a feature that our business menu plan offers. One of the other areas that is, if I'm honest, it's quite an underspoken about area of our business protection policies, and it is the value-added services. We're all very familiar with value-added services on a personal protection side because the industry is really doing a fantastic job to speak about them a lot at the moment. But actually, we also offer those services plus more for business owning clients. So if you have business menu plans for your business owning clients, they'll have access to something called Helping Hand for Business, and that provides access to a range of all the well-being and support services that the personal protection policies will be able to access at no extra cost for the person that's covered and their families. But from a business protection perspective, they also get access to independent legal advice and recruitment specialists as well. So a really good question to think about. If you've got business owning clients, how many of them have in-house legal teams? I'd imagine very few. And how many have in-house HR teams? I'd imagine very few. So the fact that business owners have got access to these services, it can actually help them get access to services that they may struggle to access normally. They may be paying over the odds to access normally. They may never even access those services normally if they don't think that there's maybe a need. They might try and do these things themselves, i.e., the recruitment side. Of course, that can be quite expensive. It can certainly be timely. So it's just another area to really bring to life with business owner clients. And I think I've mentioned this stat a lot this year, which is something that we found earlier this year, was that about 16% of protection policy holders are aware they have access to these benefits. So there's a huge awareness gap, and that is both personal and protection. So it might not be the sole reason for setting up the policy, but it's certainly an added benefit worth mentioning to business owners, that they have access to legal, recruitment, well-being, and health services as well. And yeah, hopefully that can be a really good additional selling point to the discussion.
Brilliant, Gregor. Thank you. Yeah, that's something I didn't know anything about. So I learned from me there as well. So thanks, Gregor, for taking the time today. Lots of really, really good points there. Thanks for taking the time to record. As I say, I'm sure the advisors will find it really, really useful. Just before we close off, is there anything else you wanted to add?
Just a huge thank you, Aidan, and thanks everyone for listening. Of course, if you do have questions on anything Royal London business protection related, we've got a fantastic team of corporate protection specialists. They're there to help you explore the world of business protection. If you're brand new, if you've got more technical queries, or you've got a case that actually you maybe think you just need some support with the inner workings of it, we've got a fantastic team that support your BDMs here, and just make the most of those teams. But yeah, a huge thank you, and hopefully everyone can start to see the opportunity of business protection now.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. And finally, thank you to you, our members, for taking the time to listen to our podcast today. Now, don't forget, look out for more in the series. We'll be covering more topics over the coming months. So thanks, everybody. Have a great day.